Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be pulling some sacred shards, but before that I just want to go over sort of what's happening at the moment, what's happening this weekend, and what you guys can sink your teeth into. So first things first, we got the fusion that dropped a couple of days ago. I think it was yesterday or the day before. So we've got Greathoof Loriaca. I think let's go with that. So this is the new fusion champion. There's some sort of some people are saying she's probably not a very good champion. He or she, we can't really tell. Probably not going to be a very good champion, just sort of mediocre. But what I always bear in mind with these things is legendary to the most likely champions in the game to get buffed. And if they are going to, if Polarium and Raid are going to release a champion that's probably not very good, and there's a lot of community feedback about that, they may buff this champion, and it may be one of the best champions in the game. Back in the day, Dracomorph wasn't a very good champion. He got buffed, and now he is my main damage dealer on one of my clan boss teams. So always keep that in mind when we do these fusions. The fusion might not look very good now, but it might look much better in the future. You just never know. So Loriaca, yeah, I'm going to go with Loriaca, has attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 40% chance of stealing one random buff. And on her A2, she has attacks all enemies, has a 75%, 100 when booked, chance of placing a 50% decreased resistance debuff for 2 turns. Fills this champion's turn meter by 10% for each decreased resistance buff placed by this champion. So if you're in PvE content, it's quite easy to predict how much accuracy you need. So you can build her. I'm going to go with a her. You can build her with enough accuracy that you always get that turn meter boost, which means she's constantly moving through her skills and constantly pumping this out. At the moment, I don't really know if decreased resistance has a place in the game. I guess it can do for PvP content, but only against a certain type of team, which are going to have really high resistance. So it might not even be that beneficial with it on those high resistance enemies. So not 100% on that. It could be a skill that's going to come up in the future. There could be a boss one day in the future that needs decreased resistance on it, and then this champion's going to come into her own. So, and again, as I said, she might get a buff. She might have really good multipliers on her, and she might be one of the best damage dealers in the game for all we know. She is a support character, but you know, Sinesha has quite good damage, and she's a support. So you never know how it's going to go. And then on the A3, places a block debuff buff on all allies for 2 turns. That's on a 3-turn cooldown, so it's really useful. It can be used in stuff like clan boss. So if you're early game and you're going for this champion, that is your block debuffs champion right there. And also fills the turn meter of all allies by 20%. So you will have to sort of work with a calculator to get those speed tunes correct. But yeah, there we go. So that's our A3. And then on her passive, fills this champion's turn meter by 5% each time an ally buff is removed, transferred, stolen, or expires. So every time a buff comes off anyone in your team, she gets turn meter. So yeah, that's the fusion champion, guys. So I'm going to be working on her, whether she's a good champion or not, because it's a free legendary. That's how I see it. I use my gems. As you can see, I've got 7,000 gems up here. I use the energy that I save up over time. If we go into my mailbox, you can see I constantly save energy. I don't use the free gifts we get. There's 500 energy there. And just I try and save as much energy as I can for these type of events. So all of the gems I've got from just playing the game, all of the energy I've got from just playing the game. So in my opinion, that's a free champion. So I go for it. It's a guaranteed legendary if I do all of the things. Whereas if I pull shards for this champion, you never know if I'm going to get a legendary, and you definitely don't know if I'm ever going to be able to pull this champion with how many there is in the game so far. So also this weekend, I think it's for the whole weekend. Yeah, so for the whole weekend, you've got a guaranteed champion if you can pull 25 void shards. So as you can see, I actually can't pull 25 void shards. And it's for Demitha, who is an excellent champion. It's one of those champions that can really unlock your account. So what she's well known for is her A3, which is places block damage buff on all allies for 1 turn and has a 15% continuous buff on all allies for 2 turns. The continuous here wasn't that important. It's the block damage. What you can do with Demitha, if you match her up with an heiress and a speed booster, like a Deacon or a Seeker, then she can be a one-man team or a one-man enabler with Heiress to be able to do an unkillable clan boss team. So yeah, if you're interested in doing an unkillable, this is definitely a champion I would go for. Be careful though if you want to pull voids on the next ×2. I would say for the chances, 100% chance of a Demitha right now with 25, or the chances of only pulling rares on the next ×2, I would say this is a go-to thing to do. Demitha is one of those champions. When I pulled Helicath on both of my accounts for the fusion, he absolutely transformed my accounts. So if you can do the same thing with a Demitha and you can get that Ultra Nightmare every day, minimum of a 3-2, anything lower than a 4-key Ultra Nightmare, then I would say you unlock loads in the game and you unlock loads of potential for shards. So definitely a champion I would go for. And then just going back to the fusion that's on right now, guys, because that's what I'm focusing on this week and for the next 2 weeks. If I go into the news and I find the fragment event, so what we've basically got, it's a bit of a funny one. Normally they do 1 summon rush and 1 champion chase tournament, but on this one they've decided to do summon rush twice, which I'm not sure I'm too happy about. If anyone watched any of my other videos, I save sacred shards for fusion events because they generally have 1 summon rush. And in that summon rush, on average, you need to be able to pull about 7 sacred shards per fusion to make sure you get the fragments, or if it's a fusion, to be able to get the rare and the epic that they normally have in this tournament in that event. But they're doing 2 summon rush events, which means if you're going to rely on the points from those summon rush events, you essentially need 14 sacred shards, which is an absurd amount. And I can't even, you know, I do Ultra Nightmare every day. I 1-key Ultra Nightmare, I 1-key Nightmare, and I can't gather that many sacreds in that amount of time. So it's up to you guys if you want to do that. I'm still going to go for it. And hopefully, if I can get all of the other points, because there's 20 in the first summon rush, so that'll be my 7 sacreds. And then what they generally do, if we go and have a look at it, what they generally do in these summon rush events is split the shards in a 5 and 15 split. Yeah, so we've got 5 fragments here, 15 here, and they'll probably do the same on the other one. So if I can pull all 20 of these, I only might need 5 on the next summon rush if I do every other event on the list, which is quite achievable for me. I don't see a problem with doing that. So we'll just go back to it. So I think if you add all of these up, not including the +5s from the tournaments, then it ends up being 115 fragments in total. So if I can do the 5 fragments on this summon rush and not go all in and do the full 20 points, then, or 20 fragments, then I should have just enough to be able to pull the champion on both of my accounts. And doing all these tournaments is not the end of the world for me. The hardest thing for me is probably the champion training events, but I can still achieve them. They're still fine. They're just a bit of a gem sink for me generally. And the way I see it is doing all of these tournaments and doing all of these different elements within the game gives me extra resources anyway. It gives me gear, it gives me silver, etc, etc. Levels my champions and stuff like that. So I don't necessarily mind doing it all. In fact, I quite enjoy it. So yeah, that's how I'm going to go about it. It's completely up to you guys, but that's how I would advise doing it as well. If you really want this champion, but you don't have enough shards to be able to pull for 2 summon rush events in one fragment or fusion, then I completely understand. I don't either. So that's what I'm going to do. Just go for 5 on the second summon rush event. And before we get pulling shards, guys, I just want to say, if you like my content and enjoy watching me and enjoy my videos, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. It means so much to me. I've currently got about 60 subscribers, and I said in one of my last videos when I had around 45 that my big milestone for myself and my personal growth was 50 subscribers. Now that I've hit that milestone, I'm now at 60. My next big one is 100 subscribers. And I think, to me, 100 subscribers would really show that I'm doing something good on YouTube. I really enjoy doing it. So I really want to pursue more in YouTube, and I want to create more content, but I can't do so if I don't know that people are enjoying it. So please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And guys, if you like my content and want to listen to more of me, please come and check out the Steve Kayler Show podcast. It's a podcast I've joined with a couple of friends of mine, and we're just starting to make some episodes together. They brought me on as producer, so I'm known as Producer George over there. We're on Spotify and all the usual podcast platforms, so come and check us out and subscribe and give them a like as well. That would be great. There is another big thing going on, which there is every other weekend. There's a ×10 on at the moment, so there's some great champions in it. If I'm not going to go through every single one, but if I pull any of them, maybe not the epics, if I pull any of the legendaries, then I'll go through their kit and I'll talk through why they're good. And they are great champions. I don't know too much about King Galkabar. I don't know too much about him, but if I pull him, I'll go through his kit and we'll try and figure out why he's a good champion. So, shard number 1, let's go. I've been waffling on far too much. Let's get into pulling shards. That's what we're all here to see. So Fenax, he is actually a great champion. He's a great champion for Hydra, and he's a great champion if you can build him right for PvP, but he's not used too much in there. He's got an absolute whack on his A1. It doesn't look like much, but he has the cannot be revived. So if you beat someone in arena, he kills them, then they can't be revived by another champion. That's mostly what he's known for. On his A2, he has block buffs and block active skills, which is, I guess, why he's probably quite good in Hydra. And then on his A3, he's got decreased speed and decreased defense. So another reason he's quite good in Hydra, because all of those buffs go really well in it. Not going to go too much into his kit. I've never built him out because I got him quite late. So I already had my arena nuker and my PvE nukers and stuff like that. So I never really needed to build him out. But maybe in the future, if I get into Hydra. So that's the first shard gone. Let's pull another one. Another epic. It's not looking good. Vogoth, probably the best damage sink in the game. Absolutely soaks up all the damage that your team's given. Other than that, I don't really know much about him. I think he's got a provoke, which can be quite handy in wave content, but he's mostly known for his passive, which he heals 50% of the damage received by enemies. So a great champion, absolutely great champion. I've been using him in Doomtower waves recently because I can't get through them, which is a bit embarrassing to say. On to the next one. A legendary. A Kyoku. Now, I don't know. I pulled a Kyoku in one of my last videos. Should we go and see? Do I have 2 Kyokus now? What's the easiest way to check? If I go into my faction guardians, down to Shadowkin, it was this account. I'll put that in there now, just while we're there. So yeah, a Kyoku. I've got her on. I've got 2 of her now. I haven't got her on my other account, on my Kale account. I'm not going to go into her kit because I have before in one of my videos. So we'll just crack on. That is 1 legendary though. I'm going to pull 14 shards today in total. 1 legendary. That's looking pretty good. Doom Priest. I think Doom Priest is one of the champions in the ×10. She's got some stuff going on her kit, but what she's mostly known for is her passive, where she removes 1 random debuff from every ally every time she takes a turn. So she's an incredible champion. She's in both of my clan boss teams on both of my accounts because she makes it affinity friendly and gets rid of the stun. So that's Doom Priest. And actually, she whacks. I didn't really realise. I built her and she can smack. No, I mean, she's not the biggest damage dealer in the game or anything like that, but she does hit quite hard in my clan boss team. On to the next one. Let's see if we can get another legendary. That'd be great. Another epic. Masamoto, don't know anything about him. Decrease attack, increase defense, chance of sealing a random buff. Not that interesting. On to the next one. Where's the legendaries? Another epic. Hophorus. This hippo actually saved my bacon in Faction Wars for Skinwalkers. I couldn't have done the last stage if I didn't have that revive. So absolutely, if you pull I don't know why I can't say it today. If you pull this champion, absolutely don't feed that champion if you haven't completed Faction Wars. That's all I would say about this one. On to the next one. Last shard for this account, and then we'll move on to my Kale account and see if we can pull some legendaries there. Maeve, don't know anything about her, not interested. I think Maeve is one of those old school champions that's been in the game for quite a while. No one ever talks about her. No one builds her out. So I'm just not that interested. Right, what I'll do, guys, I'll go onto my Kale account and we'll do exactly the same over there. And here we are on the Kale account, guys. And I've got 10 sacreds over here, but I'm only going to pull 7. Don't let me pull any more. Let's just jump straight into it. I don't have anything else to say on this account. It's no different. It's got all the same events on and everything like that. So what are we hoping for? Legendaries. Lady Annabelle, great for Bommel, I think, but I haven't got that far in Hard Doom Tower to be able to need a champion like that. But great to have on the account just in case I need to build up a Bommel. I am trying to tackle Hard Doom Tower at the moment, so maybe this is a champion that will come into play there. And if I build her out, maybe I'll do a spotlight on her and just explain why she's good at Bommel, because she's come up before and I couldn't explain it then either. On to the next one. Another epic, a Crypt Witch, block damage, will ignore block damage and shield, so can do some damage on our A1, decrease defense on our A2, and it will ignore target's defense if this champion's faster than the other on our A3, and looks like probably has speed in faction crypts for some reason as Aurora. On to the next one. I'm not too bothered about epics. There's not really any epics in the game that I can think of that I think I must have that champion or I really want that champion. Tylesia is a great damage dealer. She's got a bit of a hex spread on her A1. Attacks all enemies, increases the duration of all debuffs on enemies by 1 turn on her A2. And then A3 places a decreased defense, attacks all enemies, and then has a passive. When attacking enemies under decreased defense buff, has a 50% chance of placing Hex. So yeah, damage dealer can place Hex, which is great actually, because Hex is a great debuff to have on your enemies. On to the next one. Again, not really that interested in epics. If I can pull a legendary, I'm a happy boy. Ugo, another great legendary, another great epic. Well, basically a legendary, but yeah, another great epic. Another champion that saved my bacon in Orgrin Tribe Faction Wars. Faction Wars was quite a challenge for me. I mention it quite a lot, and it's because it was quite challenging for me. Because I'm a free-to-play account, it was quite hard for me to build up every champion that could be useful in Faction Wars. So I had to be really selective about which champions I built up. But Ugo was absolutely one of them, and also Ugo is being quite utilised at the moment for Hydra clan boss, because she does a decreased defense and block buffs on the enemy, which can block one of the head. I think is it the head of torment, that if you place this on, they can't steal your buffs, or if they do steal your buffs, it won't land on them. It won't become a buff for them. So yeah, great champion, and absolutely saved my bacon. So held in high regard. On to the next one though, because it's not a legendary. It might as well be a legendary, but it's not quite. There we go. A Nama. Cool. So Nama the Returned. I'll just see if I've got Nama on this account. It doesn't look like it, but I'll double check. Oh no, I do. I think Nama's... What is Nama? She's a Rev Knight. There's Nama. She wasn't a new champion for me, which means I do have her. I tried to build Nama out once. I was quite excited for Nama, but it was a bit lackluster, so I didn't really use her. So, attacks one enemy, has a 40% chance of increasing duration of 3 random debuffs on the target for 1 turn. Attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing decrease attack for 3 turns. Also heals all allies by 15% of the champion's max HP. The heal increases to 2% for each poison debuff on the target. Attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing 3 5% poison debuffs and 25% poison sensitivity. So the reason I wanted to build up was I used to use Frozen Banshee as my poisoner in Clan Boss, but I thought Nama would be a straight up upgrade. But I really wasn't that impressed. And I think I ended up building my unkillable teams with Helicath, and she just got put to the side, to be honest. But a legendary nonetheless, and as I always say, a legendary that could be buffed in the future and could be one of the best champions in the game. So definitely always useful to have these champions. I don't know if I need 2 Namas. We'll just go, again, we'll go into the faction guidance, just see if that's my second one. Night Revs. Yeah, there we go. 2 Namas. See, I built her out. She's got a blessing, but I just didn't really use her anywhere. I just didn't really utilise her, so that's all it is, really. Right, 2 more Sacreds. Let's see if we can get another Legendary. I'll be pretty buzzing if I do get one, but I think the chances are pretty stacked up against me. Oathbound, great champion. Didn't use him in Faction Wars. He's got freeze on his A1, decrease attack on his A2, and block active skills on his A3. What makes him significant is that he's a defensive champion, so you can build him with damage and survivability from the same stat. So, yeah, great champion to have. And then on to the last one, guys. Let's hope it's a legendary. Fingers crossed. It's an epic. An Arndolf. Provoke on his A1. Weaken and Fear. Attacks all enemies. Has a chance of placing Weaken and Fear. And then can do a reflect damage and counter attack on all allies. No. A counter-attack on this champion. I didn't think they had added a new counter-attack champion to the game. So he can reflect damage for all allies, and then he puts a counter-attack on himself. A bit selfish in my opinion, but there we are. So there we are, guys. That is my shards pulled. I'll go to the event, just make sure I got the points. I didn't check on my other account, but I will in a sec. I'm not going to do it on the camera. I don't think I really need to. We'll just make sure we got enough points here. There we go. Collect those, keep the energy. I always keep the energy for when I actually need it. And then all I'm going to be doing this weekend, guys, if I don't pull any other shards, which I won't be because it's not a times 2 event, it's not worth it, I'm just going to be doing Dragon and the champion training that's on. There you go. I'll just be completing those, and I think the Dungeon Diver comes in as well tomorrow, so they'll tie in quite nicely. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. See you next time.